So this is going to be a nice little roundup of basically the last 7-8 years of work I've been doing in terms of research into immersive technologies, XR technologies, and spatial computing. We're going to keep it short and sweet, and I'll go over like kind of the key points to be mindful of when kind of thinking about any of these new media formats or new forms of technology. So when we think about any form of kind of immersive technology or XR technology, there is a continuum of these technologies. So we've got the real environment with tangible user interfaces. So what we experience in the real world and how we interact with real world objects. Then we have augmented reality and augmented virtuality and mixed reality, kind of that domain where the virtual world is overlaid on top of the real world. Pokemon Go, for example, is a good example of that, but there's other good examples. Or alternatively, bringing real world objects into a virtual domain. So the ability to scan an object, and that creates then a virtual digital twin, what we might call a digital twin of that real world object, person, information. And then on the far end of the spectrum, we have virtual reality. So usually kind of reflected as these devices that sit on your head, much like this. This is one of the most recent versions of this. So this is the Meta Quest 3. It's actually a mixed reality device more than a standard virtual reality device. But we do have like cave environments as well. So projected virtual environments, which are used for kind of other things such as training opportunities. But most people refer to virtual reality as immersive virtual reality, immersive VR, which utilizes the head-mounted displays. This is, hopefully it will play. This is what a lot of people think of when they think about different forms of immersive content or particularly mixed reality.
Trabajos disponibles. Estudié para ser profesora y estoy haciendo mercados.
Y además puedes quedarte con los puntos de fidelización. Eres un
world, giving you, so it gives you these this information, this digital representation. This is kind of mixed reality, augmented reality, something that a lot of people kind of see as the potential future of it. It's very dystopian, this variation of it, but there are kind of things you can take from this that are beneficial. So that's augmented reality. A lot of people see this as kind of very gamified, but it's used in heritage and historical contexts. Museums use it quite heavily. Pokemon Go was probably one of the best examples of this in terms of kind of universal adoption. Then you have mixed reality, which tends to be a more interactive variation. So this is something you would find in engineering, construction, more enterprise based. But saying that, it is becoming more commonplace with commercial headsets like the new Meta Quest 3. It allows you to interact with objects, scale them within the real world, and places those digital artifacts, and they react within the real world as well. This is just an example of a 360-degree experience.
It may not feel like it, but you're traveling at over 65 miles an hour, ascending at more than 1,000 feet per minute. This might be because we hit the jet stream, a current of fast-moving air cutting.
So this is an example of 360 video, which was an early entry point for most organizations. Journalism experimented with this as well as an alternative immersive storytelling platform, which gave you the ability to have agency and feel part of a story. But also it allowed you to explore unique worlds or alternative locations that, for the case of education, for example, you wouldn't normally be able to experience. You can't take a class off to the Amazon rainforest, for example, but you can take a 360-degree camera and film in 360 and allow them to explore that space then in a VR experience. So this was like kind of the entry point, early entry point. It's still used quite heavily today. It's still a really good example. But it was accessible through mobile devices, desktops, as well as VR headsets. There's a lot of arguments over whether or not it was VR. It's not a virtual environment in the sense of it's a kind of created environment, but it is a virtual representation of it. So there's a lot of people that kind of argue both ways. But that's an easy entry point for a lot. So Interactive 360 then allows you to enable a little bit more agency and interactivity within 360. So real estate has used this quite heavily, as well as tourism, and it has been seen in heritage and education as well. The idea being that you can navigate through these 360 media representations, stills or video, and explore environments. And it's also more accessible. So it's more accessible to a wider range of demographics. And there's not a heavy requirement for high-end technology. So the access to this is actually quite open. So this is why real estate, for example, are heavy invested in this. Matterport, if anyone's ever heard of the company Matterport, who create 3D models and 360 videos and stills of different locations, and you can use it for real estate, etc. That is essentially it. And they use a similar kind of design as this to be able to explore locations and explore houses and construction, things like that. And it's taken on it's come on leaps and bounds since it first started. But the central idea is to allow a bit more interactivity and agency for the user to be able to explore those environments. Then we have kind of spatial. So applications. We'll skip forward to the applications then. So there's a massive map of all the different applications you could use this for, from training purposes through to surgical training. You can use it for HR training and kind of in-house training for say, for example, large organizations maybe want to do diversity training, and they're using VR for this purpose, to be able to kind of put users within different scenarios and give them this embodied experience. So the feeling of them there experiencing it in real time as if they are within that scene. And that's already clearly shown that there's a benefit in terms of retention of that knowledge and transferring that knowledge into a real world context, which is why there's a lot of use cases within training, professional training and education. But you can use it in healthcare as well. So you can use it within healthcare for distraction therapies. They use it within heritage and culture sectors as part education, part entertainment purposes. You can use it for primarily entertainment purposes as well. So there's a huge amount you can do with it. And there's a huge growth in this as well. This is 2019. So there are a huge amount of growth in businesses who are looking to spend substantial amounts of money in immersive technologies. The education, I'll share these slides with you also that you can see the videos as well.
We've got 1 minute left.
Yeah, so improvements in STEM education, declarative knowledge acquisition in comparison to lectures, etc. So this is some of the evidence to show its benefits. In media and comms, it generates a stronger sense of presence and attitudes towards content and also characters within that content. So you have this empathy towards the story and to the characters, which is far more prominent than in traditional forms of media. And then with engineering and construction, improved productivity, it engages with communities, better design and planning, and efficient collaboration. And then with healthcare, then it enhances medical training, improved patient education, non-location-based care, and effective rehabilitation and mental health support. And there are some challenges, of course. So much with any form of technology, there's always challenges to kind of bring it to the forefront of what we do in industry. don't restrict yourselves to what the technology looks like it can do, because trust me, it can do far more than that.